Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hey, like always, running like a bat out of hell all the time, all the time, all the time. Hey, hi. Oh, I feel like I look how I feel. That's okay. That's all right. It's all right. Welcome to Pleasure Tools Tuesday with Coach Katasha. We are going to be discussing some interesting material today. We're mostly just going to be talking about disability and sex and how those two things are kind of interwoven into each other. Okay, let me close all this down. And, what to look out for, what are some ways that you can, help it and things like that. Many times, ooh, who's this? Oh, okay. Um, so yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing. So far, so good. I am kind of stressing today. I got stuff to do. I got a lot of stuff to try to like squeeze in a few little hours. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I've already been up all day, like trying to knock stuff out. I'm telling you, man, my life is like, who even, man, whoever invented work, I hate you. Like, I hate you with everything inside my body. I know that we must do it, but the fact that, like, anyway. So, big stuff today, big stuff today. I just want to take some time to kind of discuss the elephant in the room. I know that most, people are very much aware of what we have going on in our administration and all that good stuff. But I like to talk in real time about what we are experiencing. And so it's important that we realize that the things that are happening right now are, even though they don't seem like it, they are directly correlated to the actions this administration has already taken. And some of those actions you have seen, but some of them you have not. And there are a lot of statistics and a lot of data out there, even though, they're firing people who they don't want to tell the story, and they're quelling the news and, sending out tweets and all this stuff. So whatever the administration does, whatever. There's nothing we can do about that. Is I, as a black woman, did everything that I was supposed to do to stop this from happening, but it was not enough. So what does that mean now? That means that right now, many people are going to be experiencing a sense of hopelessness and a sense of fear about the future as jobs become more scarce. We are currently in a time where there are more unemployed people than there are jobs available. And they're also doing things in the meantime to make it harder for companies to bring more jobs here. And so, jobs is money, and money is how you live here. You cannot live here without a source of income, especially when you start getting in those rural places and those rural towns. Many hospitals have been shut down. There are some counties where you have to go hundreds of miles. There isn't even a hospital within a 50-mile radius where you can deliver a baby, right? And so OBGYNs are understaffed. We also just don't have the resources. Many of the programs that these people are coming on TV and complaining about, that, the farmers and all of those programs are subsidized. And subsidized means that the government pays a portion of their costs to offset so they don't pass it down to you. They knew that when they were voting. They knew that they were getting government money when they were voting, but they honestly believed that this administration was going to help them. I don't even know if I can say that. One thing that I have learned, and I guess it has brought a lot of things into perspective for me. I used to always see videos of blue collar crimes, right? And people who have had their life savings and stuff stripped away, and the house has been sold out from under them. Somebody came in and sweet talked them, and um all and got all of their money, got all their life savings. And I was just like, how could that happen? Like, that's just not something that regularly happens in the community that I grew up in. We are super skeptical, and we're also really skeptical about our money. But I've realized that there's a whole population of people that have no idea that they are being conned. They don't know how to tell. And all the person has to be is white and male. And if you look at those cons, they're almost always perpetrated by. If you look at those blue collar crimes, where, and not all the time, because there was just a lady here in Moore. Was it in Moore? They ended up stealing like $600,000 from a school program or church program or something. So it's not always, but in most cases, well, I will say no. I'm not gonna say that either. I I am disappointed in the amount of discernment in Americans. That's what I want to say. I am surprised because I know that there's no way that I would be able to con you out of your life savings. I know that. I know that. I know that it's not possible I know that Obama would not have been able to con you out of your life savings. I know that. But it is something about the system that lets you believe that these people would not hurt you, even though you have absolutely nothing in common except being white. That's it. That's it. That is the only thing that you will see as a marker on how to not get played, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I say all that to say this. Mm. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um, it's going to get bad. It's going to get bad. And no matter what people tell you, no matter what you think, this, the same way that America was founded off a crumble, the same way many other nations have been founded, like we are about to experience a crumble of American culture. And historically, when that happens, there's always someone there, like Russia or North Korea, or someone there that can pick up the pieces. And hey, welcome. So I just want to say that if you can right now, try to hold on to hope. I am glad that you're having a great day. I actually am too. I had a bacon sandwich with some onions and some mustard, so I'm having a great day too. But that's not everybody's experience right now. And so if you are struggling with, finding a job or taking care of your kids or just existing, I am holding space for you right now. I I cannot tell you that it's going to be better. I cannot tell you to look forward to newer things and that the worst is not going to happen to you. We are going to have real world consequences for this. We are going to have increases in domestic violence. We're going to have increases in child abuse. You are going to see people having psychotic breaks because we are cutting mental health and other types of services. You are going to see a rise in self-deleting rates, which I've already started noticing. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but I've seen more and more people um, checking out, right? And we're going to see that in mass. You're also going to see people getting sick with diseases they've never been sick with before. You're going to see food shortages. Like, we are really talking about, this is the beginning of some of the worst times that are definitely going to go down in history. So if I can, I'm pouring out a little bit for you right now, for myself as well. Because as someone who supports people and works directly with people, I see the effects of some of this firsthand. And so just try to take care of yourself if you can. I know that a lot of us are already just like, whatever. And that's kind of how I feel too. Is nothing else that I can do. The only thing that I knew that could stop this was the thing that I did, which was vote. But other people did not have that idea in mind. So, they won. And this is what we as Americans voted for. So not me, but us collectively. So just try to hold some space for yourself. Do the things, make sure you're up to par on your self-care. Make sure that you are trying to stand in the gap for your family. If you have a little bit of extra grace to give, try to give it. People are going to start acting out. You're going to see a lot more Karen behavior happening from a lot of people who are not Karens. I saw this morning that a South Asian creator was talking about that this is not, if you've been keeping up, they raided the Hyundai plant in Georgia. And I would like to add that Atlanta is a big city in Georgia, but a lot of those other places are not big. Savannah's not huge, but it's not small, but it definitely could have used that job market. It absolutely could have used that job market, and that would have employed plenty of locals. It would have changed a bunch of people in Georgia's lives. But because racism fuels and runs who we are as a nation, that will not happen. So, and all of those people are real world people who have societies, they have social structures, they have commitments, monetary financial commitments, they have social commitments, they have commitments to their family, all of these things, daycare, food. So we're leaving those people out high and dry because of racism. And so it's going to be real world consequences to that. So just try to hold some space for yourself. I know, again, that's a really hard concept and really hard to do, a hard idea to do. So I get that, but I really do wish the best um, for that. So hopefully you can stay. Hopefully you can hang around. I would appreciate it. But I know that it's going to be hard, and I want to acknowledge that, this is going to be uphill for the next couple of years at least. So just, holding space for you as much as I can. Okay, so today we're going to be discussing disability and sex and talking about how different types of conditions can have an effect on your sexual health and the way that you see yourself and how that can spread over into other parts of your life. We are going to be talking about some, of course, sexuality today, but we're also going to be talking about different types of disabilities. Not necessarily a trigger warning, but just kind of to make you aware that we're going to be mixing some conversations that are not usually mixed, and that can make you uncomfortable. People are uncomfortable talking about disabled people and their need for sexual health and care and intimacy. So just again, not a trigger warning, but just something to keep in mind. If you do feel yourself feeling some type of way about the conversation, I would ask you to, go within, see where that's coming from. Are you being judgmental? Are you passing off biases? All those different types of things, because every person deserves whatever their mind can discern for them. So if you see someone and you don't deem them a sexual being, you don't have that power. That is not something that you can control or maintain. That is not your business to even address. That is their lives, their business. But we do have, not only do we as people, but we as a society have put parameters around the sexual health of people who are disabled. So just want to have that conversation, just so we can do that. Now, I have, as part of my curriculum, I have to cover sex and disability pretty thoroughly. And so I've got to witness some conversations. I've got to be privy to some conversations that a lot of other people have not been privy to. I've had the opportunity to be on panels with people who are disabled and have conversations about sexuality in that space with people who are currently living it. Okay. And the thing about it is that at some point, all of us will no longer have the range of motion that we once had. At some point, we're all going to degenerate. That's the way our bodies work. That's what we're doing to our bodies. That's the way it works. Everything is, it's a process, but we have separated ourselves from disabled folks so much that we look at them as a different class of people when they aren't. You are going to be in that class at some point in your life, even if it's not permanent. If you've had to have surgery, if you've had any extensive work done, if you've gotten into a really bad accident, if you've had any kind of organ failure, all those different types of things are things that can happen to anyone that will change the way that you see your body and see your sexual health, and will absolutely have an effect on your sexuality. And again, that's not a conversation that we normally have, but it is a conversation that we do need to have. Okay. So let's talk about the diversity of disabled bodies and how pleasure is mapped into that. And so when we talk about being disabled, most people are just think of something like, oh, you know, um, being in a wheelchair or walking with a cane or being blind. But disability has a wide range, and someone who is blind could have more range of motion than someone who has arthritis. And so, but we will look at the person who's blind and determine that, what they can and cannot have or what they should and should not have access to, where the person with arthritis, because we use our eyes instead of our brains to map out, who deserves what, we put them in a category that they necessarily don't want to be in. And so disability has a very, very broad range. It's not just losing a limb. It's not just no longer having access to your senses. It could be a bum shoulder. It could be a pinched nerve. It could be anxiety. It could be missing toes. It could be a terribly healed Achilles injury. It could be all types of things that will put you in that category to where you are no longer able to have the same range of motion that you had at another point in your life. And so if you have that, and some of those specific disabilities will not only have an effect on your body, it will have an effect on the way that you see yourself. It will have a effect on your mental health. It can affect your quality of life. All of those things just from having arthritis, just from not being limber or flexible. There are people who don't have their muscles cannot stretch to even just, open your legs that wide or to hold your leg up for an extended period of time. Those things can be really difficult for some people. And so if you have that in your body, you have a disability in your body, it absolutely will have ramifications on how you see yourself and how you view your sexual health. But it also will, if you have a visible disability, it will allow other people to pass their judgments off on what you should be able to experience and what you shouldn't. And just for a fun fact, if a person is on disability and they are to get married, they could lose their benefits. So what is that telling? What does that mean for disabled individuals? If someone is legally blind or completely quadriplegic and they get in a relationship and they lose their benefits, what you're telling disabled people that they're no longer allowed to be in a relationship. Otherwise, I will take your livelihood from you. How did we make those two things go together? How did we as a society, as our systems in place, how did we make that decision that because you are disabled, you are no longer allowed your benefits or you can choose love. You can have your benefits or you can have love, but you can't have both. And that is a terrible precedence that we're setting. And that's not just what the system is doing, because we also harbor some of those prejudices when it comes to disabled people. Some of the media that I took while I was going through my process had a French woman who she had been quadriplegic her whole life. And, she's had caregivers her entire life, cleaning her, washing her, all of those things, but she's never experienced touch as far as pleasure is concerned. She's only experienced touch as a necessity to her disability. And because of that, she is advocating for surrogates for people who are disabled, which I 100% support. There are in other countries, they do have programs set up where you can be a surrogate to someone in a sexual nature, and you can take on those type of clients if you wish. There's only a few places in the United States that can do it. I don't know all of them. I do think California is one of them to be a sexual surrogate. But this individual was advocating for those services, for sexual services for her outside of her disability, because again, she's always had people touching her, washing her, feeding her, all of those things, but she's never experienced intimate touch from another person, and she desires that. And so how do we tell people who are completely quadriplegic that you don't deserve that? You can't have that. Sorry. And so it's really going to be us revamping how we view disability and sexuality, but also making sure that we as people are not perpetuating the systems that are keeping them oppressed as far as being able to be sexually free with a disability. So, what does that look like for someone who is currently disabled? What How does the access to sexuality happen? Well, if most of us only had sex ed in middle school, right, where they told you that you were musty and you need deodorant, and they talked about STDs and STIs and those different types of things, that service is not automatically offered offered, that's the word I want to use, offered to children with disabilities. I remember I took it at Rogers Middle School in 7th grade, and I remember it deeply. We went in the auditorium. They separated the boys and the girls on one side, and they gave us a little bag, and it had deodorant and pads and stuff in it. I don't remember that being an inclusive experience for the other students. And, I was office aide. And I was also just a really nosy kid. So I was asking. I was asking. But we have made those determinants, and we have not consulted with the people who are actually in those positions. And so having a disability does not exclude you from sexuality. It needs to be accommodated just like everything else. And so there are now, of course, there are a lot more people that are making materials that are accessible for people with disabilities, but in most cases, it is being marketed to people who don't have disabilities. So there are a lot of toys and a lot of adaptive techniques and things that you can use that are not necessarily being marketed for disabled individuals. That should be. That should be. But when we make the toys or we make the techniques, we don't take that into an account. Which is kind of weird to me, because I feel like we're leaving money on the table, and my motto is we don't leave no money on the table. Okay, we don't leave no money on the table. So it's always been very interesting to me. I wonder if I can find that video. Let me see if I can find that video. Maybe we can watch it. Hold on. Let me see. Or find a video. Oh, this is developmental disabilities. Ooh, this will probably be good. Okay, let's check it out. Let's check it out. Okay. Let's go up here. It's a YouTube video. It might cut me off, but we'll see.
Sexual self advocacy is part of an empowerment series for self advocates.
Have you heard the term self advocate? Being a self advocate means to speak up for what you want.
It means making your own decisions. Asking help when you need it or want it.
being responsible for yourself and taking a big role in getting what you want in your own life.
Being a sexual self advocate is about speaking up for what you want in your life, about how you dress, have relationships, and sexual experiences.
Sexual self advocacy means to me to speak up about wanting the same things as other people that don't have a disability. We want to get married, we want to have kids, we're sexual beings. Just because we have a disability doesn't mean we don't think about it.
Being able to speak my mind and being able to say what I mean what I say when it comes to sexuality.
Sexual self advocacy means if I'm with a significant other, that I want my privacy.
You can advocate for your body and your choice. You can say yes, you can say no. If you're not comfortable in a situation that you don't want to get yourself into, you always have the right to say no.
Being a sexual self advocate is asking for support with relationships and sex when you need it. It's telling your parents, friends, and support providers what you want.
It also means you get to have some privacy and can decide to not tell people personal things. It is important.
Okay, okay. So we're back. I think I just learned something about my system. Hold on, let me go back. Go here. And can I take this off? Okay, yeah, I think I just learned something. Interesting. Look, Amy still work. She's still learning, still learning. But I do think that's an important conversation because it does make for a long road ahead when you are fighting against yourself and against other people. Fighting for to exist. Like I deserve the right to have access to my sexual self. I deserve access to the same types of sexuality as someone who is not disabled. And so I've heard conversations of um, disabled folks saying that, they went to go buy contraceptives and they wouldn't sell them the contraceptives, or that they've gone into certain rooms or into certain scenes and not been accepted, or all these different things that the different ways that we other people with disabilities, not realizing that at some point we're all going to be a person with a disability. It may not be again long term, but at some point you will know what it feels like to not have your full faculties at your disposal. And so if we know that that's going to be us one day, then let's start now in creating a space that welcomes every part of us when we get there. And we can do that by creating that space now for the people who are already there. So if we can be a voice for disabled individuals, to let them know that you are important, your desires are important, your voice is important, and to help them to self-advocate for their sexual needs, that will make it easier when the rest of us inevitably end up in that spot. Okay, so we're all doing the work to make the space more comfortable for all of us by opening our minds to the thought of disabled people and having access to care. And even going further than that, if someone is disabled and wants to get pregnant, we have, different societal notions about that as well. Not even with no other person having to pass any kind of tests to be parents, we have decided that somebody with disabilities would not be a good parent. And that's not true. Just because someone is able-bodied does not make them more fit to be a parent than someone who is not. So there are a lot of different ways that we perpetuate many of the stereotypes that come along with this. It's also a systemic issue, again, because we have told disabled people that if they do engage in relationships and being in committed relationships, that we will no longer support them. We have essentially othered our disabled population, and we are blocking their advocacy for themselves. They should be able to say what they want and what they don't want, and they should have the tools available to them to do that. And then now we can segue into one of my favorite subjects is sex work should be legal. It should be legal. It should be legal. If you can make weed legal, you can make coochie legal and whatever else people want to sell. Because if they do get a sexual surrogate, they are still paying for that service. So those people are no different than picking somebody up off the street. I know that, they may feel different. I don't. I do not think that they're any way better than people who are picking up Johns off the street. Yeah, you're doing it on the back end and you're blah, 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 but you're doing the exact same action. Maybe not out of necessity, but you're doing the same thing. And so if we're going to do that, then we should just let the people who are on the street make that money and service the need. But we also are, one of our societal hangups is that we have to control the purity of the nation. Well, no, not the purity of the nation, because I just saw today that a young man got 18 months for sexually abusing a child at the age of 7 years old for 6 years. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, 8 years. 8 years. And he got 18 months for that sentence. That brave young girl got up on that stand and told that man, "You took my childhood." And the system that we are in right now gave the perpetrator 18 months. 18 months. So we don't care about the purity of our nation. We don't care about the protection of our girls. They don't even care, even though they pretend like they do, they don't even care about the protection of their own girls. They don't. They don't. And so if no one's going to care about the girls, okay, no one's caring about the girls, no one's caring about the boys either, because boys are sexually assaulted. And shout out, there are so many more men these days coming out about their own sexual abuse, and I could not support that more. If you are a young man and you did go through sexual abuse, your voice is so important for other young men to be able to come forward about what happened to them. Um, because the numbers for male sexual abuse are so underreported because men have shame and other things that are wrapped around, and then sometimes they don't understand that this is what's happened to them. As someone who has done this for a very long time, I've heard babysitter stories, I've heard teacher stories, I've heard many youth pastor and youth department and choir and all of those stories. There are people out here who are preying on these children, but the rates for men are so underreported because of the shame surrounding it. And if you are a man and you are using your voice for that, again, the love I have for you is so deep, because I know that even if it was only one person, if your voice could only help one other person, it would be worth it. It would be worth it, because imagine what that does to the body. Imagine what that kind of silent trauma does to the body. And the reason I say it's got to be underreported, because we're seeing a lot of the consequences of young sexual abuse in these dating conversations that y'all are having. I'm just saying, we're seeing seeds that were laid in those formidable years play out in adult relationships, because sometimes those men don't know they were assaulted. They don't know they were sexually assaulted. And so, we've had the conversation of teachers, and men always say, why didn't teachers look like that when I was a kid? There were teachers. There have always been teachers having sex with students. That has always been the case. In my mom's generation, in my generation, in a generation after me, and a generation after that, it's still going to be a thing. But in many of those cases, if the teacher is a woman and the child is a male, he doesn't necessarily see that as abuse, but that relationship will absolutely have an effect on how he treats people in the future. It's not just something that's going to happen. It's going to be this, oh, it's an amazing thing. It's the same thing for young girls. Those years, your developmental years, are your building blocks of your life. The things that happen to you in that time frame are the building blocks of your life. It's how you approach violence. It's how you approach fear. It's how you approach communication. It's how you approach community. It's all of those things. And so if you take a young man who was violated at a very early age by an older woman or even an older man, and that is suppressed inside of them, you are going to see the ramifications of that play out in their adult relationships. There's no way to avoid it. And so either how they see themselves, how they treat themselves, how they treat their partners, how they view love and servitude and commitment, all of those are going to be a direct link to the building blocks in those fundamental years of learning. And so we have an opportunity now to step in, because if you know children, it's 1 in 4 boys. I think it's 1 in 6. No, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys before the age of 18 will be sexually assaulted. That means if you know 4 boys or 4 girls or 6 boys, statistically, one of those kids could be being assaulted at home or at school or at church or anywhere. So we really have the opportunity to step in and save a child from those fundamental building blocks because the system is not going to do it, apparently. If all you can get is 18 months for taking 8 years of a child's life, abusing a child for 8 years, we do not have a system that is going to punish people who are doing those kinds of things. Even though we know the ramifications of that, that is going to affect that young girl for the rest of her life. Hopefully, she gets better. Hopefully, she will be able to survive, but it is not going to erase what happened to her. And so, as a community, we have to come together and we have to know that the systems that are currently in place are not useful for what we're trying to do. If we want to stop this from happening, we have to be diligent in making sure that these crimes are punished, that our children know that they are safe, because those people usually use fear as a tactic to keep your child quiet, all of those types of things. So you have to be an advocate for yourself and for your children and for all the people around you because it's happening. This is not a one-off type of thing. There are plenty of children, and that's why like if you bring them kids around me, I'm asking. If somebody's touching you and telling you that if you tell somebody that they gonna do something, they lying because they cannot whoop me. They can not. The reason why they keep it in the secret is because they can't whoop me. All of my nieces and nephews know that. There is nobody that's willing to go to bat to tear down a building for you like I am. And I don't care who they are. I don't care what they tell you. I don't care. Listen. And your kids need to know that. Your kids need to know that there is not anyone in this world scarier than you when it comes to them. Because those people will get in front of their faces and they'll tell them, I will unalive your mom. I will unalive your grandma, your dad. They will say all of these things to keep your kid quiet so that they can still have access to them. Your child needs to know there is not anyone on this planet that can keep me off of their ass if something happened to you. So just thinking about that young girl's experience and then having to sit and relive it and do it in front of all these people only for that man to get. And matter of fact, since we're talking about it, I want to say the judge's name. I don't remember. I think it was Steven something. um Dang. So I tried to Google it. And there's so many cases that came up. That's not it. It's so crazy. Like it is pages and pages of cases of but I don't even see that case and it's like new. So okay, maybe I'm not searching it right. Hold on. I can't even find it. And all these other stuff is like making my chest hurt. um, that should find it. I will tell you this: as I'm looking it up, it says an 18-month sentence for grape is not the norm, as most jurisdictions have sentencing guidelines that prescribe significantly longer prison terms. But you know what? I cannot find. Oh, is this? No, that's from a year ago. Hold on. I'm finna find it. Because I want to find the judge's name. Oh, maybe I don't know if I would have. Let me see. Hold on. If I could find it. I don't know if I will though. Now I'm gonna have to like come back. Ah, I found it. Where is the judge's name? The man's name is Camden Dale, Dahle. He pleaded two counts of felony injury to a child, abusing the victim from ages 7 to 12. Judge suspended a 5 to 10 year prison sentence in favor of just 180 days jail, 8 years probation, and 200 hours community service and $2,600 in fines. He's not required to register as a sex offender. The victim's father's statement is unforgettable. I pray his daughter continues to heal from the horrific abuse. Okay, so let me look up the man's name. That way we gonna see. But also, why didn't it come up? Like, this is a really big case right now. And that didn't come up at all. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Where's the judge? District Judge Stephen Boyce. It was Stephen Boyce. I thought it was Stephen. So, District Judge Stephen Boyce handed Dale a suspended prison sentence and placed him on probation for 8 years. This is why it's also so important for you to be in those local elections, those county elections with judges and stuff. That's the one you need to be in because he was originally sentenced to like a maximum of 10 years, but the judge suspended the sentence. He suspended it. So if we don't criminalize this behavior, we're supporting it. We're telling people that if you do this, nothing's gonna happen. You'll be fine. Um, you know, nothing to worry about here. You're good. I've been over here just talking, just muted up. Oh, but I think I figured out why that happened. Hold on. What if I go in here and I take this off? Okay. All right. So anyway, I don't know how we got all the way over there, but it was necessary. This is my show. We do whatever I want to do. So, who had their innocent? I hope that you develop superpowers so that you can get your own justice. I said what I said. So with that being said, back to disability and sex. About it because it is important. Don't let them tell you that it is not. If you are interested in a relationship with someone or experiencing to create that on your much as regular people do, because we also is not regular people, because disabled people are regular people too, but able-bodied people, the same way that able-bodied people need to advocate for themselves, because no one's talking to their doctors about how their sexual health is affecting them. And it's super important. That conversation is super important to your overall health. No, but I'm saying it probably has effects that you are not aware of. And keep in that same cycle. Talk to your physicians, talk to your care team about your sexual health, about your desires, and see if we can come up with a plan that works best for you. Now, bringing it up is not going to be the end all be all. It's going to be a fight, but that's also the same for able-bodied people. You are probably going to have a harder fight. Can I get another one? Can you give me two more pieces? That is what I want for you. So, keeping in mind that at some point in your life, you will be disabled, feeling that way, that, certain people don't deserve access to certain types of pleasure. So just, have the conversation. Had all kinds of stuff I had to catch up on for being gone. So a non-judgmental, unbiased opinion and facts on sexual health. Some of it's going to be my opinion because, I'm going to always encourage you to do the absolute most. I'm going to always encourage you to take it there. Just go ahead and push it up a couple notches. But I want you to have the information to do that safely. So I will also be providing you with that. On Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will be talking about menstrual cups, and we're actually going to be that's going to be Sex Tech Thursday, where we talk about new developments in sexual technology and how they can help us. And we will be talking about smart menstrual cups. This is super interesting. That reads the data, can tell you, and may be able to give you a heads up on other types of issues that you may have before symptoms make it to us. So and then Friday, of course, is going to be late night with Coach Katasha. So that's quickly also becoming one of my favorite shows because we just be on there cutting up. We just get on there and cut up, and I love that for us. You can find this stream on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitch. You can type Coach Katasha in any of those search bars, and you will find me. That should be me. And make sure that you are subscribing so that you can get the notifications of when we go live. I promise I won't be just going live all willy-nilly and getting on your nerves. I swear I won't. Teaches abstinence-only education, and it's a really difficult barrier. It's a very difficult barrier. But we have colleagues that teach sex ed on to younger children, and because young kids also need sex education, they need to know about their bodies, they need to know about consent, they need to know about proper touch, all those types of things. So trauma people who can be. I have many connections. I've been at this for years at this point. 11 years. 11 years is crazy.